All right, what's going on, everybody? This is Jamal Benny. I'm with Prescribed Truth. This is the Prescribing Truth podcast. And you know me, I try to seek to distribute the truth that the doctor prescribes. Today, I don't really expect anybody to get on. This is late. It's currently 10:14 where I am at right now, and so I don't expect anybody to get on. But if somebody does, I will check back soon enough and invite you to leave a comment and ask a question while I'm on. But I felt the need. I haven't been on since probably been a month now. Dealing with my newborn and enjoying my family, and most importantly, the holidays coming up. And as we're coming up to celebrating Christ's birth, I wanted to try to discuss some things. Every year, it never fails, and I'm pretty sure some of you may have dealt with this as well. There's going to be somebody to throw out the claim that Christmas is a pagan holiday with pagan origins. And so I want to take the time to just read a couple of things to you and let you wrestle with these things. I'm going to first of all say that Christmas is not a pagan religion or a pagan holiday, but it is indeed a Christmas holiday. I mean, a Christian holiday. See, getting tongue tied. It's late. Forgive me. But yeah, so I want to read a couple things and go from there. If you have any questions while I'm discussing this topic or anything you may want me to look at, please leave a comment. I'm able to see the live chat, so that'd be cool. I don't plan on being here too long. I just want to read a couple things and move from there. Just to throw out a couple plugs, you can find me on Facebook at Prescribed Truth, and also I left a link in the description that I started to sell the Prescribed Truth shirts. A portion of the proceeds goes to Children's Cancer Research Fund. So I want to find a way to give back to the community as well, and just spread this message about prescribing truth and sharing truth because that's what I'm about. All right, to least to the best of my ability. And so, with no further ado, I want to go ahead and go to where I'll be reading from. So let's look at pagan. First, we're gonna start with some definitions. I mean, we want to think about what does it mean when somebody says something is pagan. Um, and it's very simple, but I want to you can look this definition up, um, and that's what I did, and just so I can read it off to you. This is the Merriam-Webster dictionary website. Definition of pagan: a heathen, especially a follower of a polytheistic religion, as in ancient Rome. One who has little or no religion and who delights in sensual pleasures and material goods, an irreligious or hedonistic person. So that's what we would consider pagan. Okay. So when we think about Christmas being a pagan holiday, or somebody considered to being a pagan holiday, they're saying it's basically started by people who are irreligious, who either believe in multiple gods, whatever the case may be. And that's simply not the case when it comes to Christmas. You know, just throwing off without, I'm gonna go to this website where I'm gonna read off more detail, but just to start off some stuff. Christmas originally always was a Christian holiday. No, it was not in December 25th. It was actually somewhere during the spring where they celebrated. And matter of fact, they really wasn't celebrating Christ's birth at first. They celebrated Easter, of course, but then people want to celebrate his birth, and that's where it started. So it had to be Christians to start that. To say that if Christmas started as a pagan tradition or pagan holiday is just simply false in and of itself. Now, but that leaves the question where everything else come from. Why we have all this extra stuff, and does it matter? Is it a big deal? Should we run and hide from it, or should we speak life to it, or not speak life? Watch my video about speaking things into existence. Or should we continue to encourage the traditions that we hold to, though it may have some iffy things in the past? And so we're going to look at that real quick. All right. So bear with me real quick while I go to this website. All right, now I'm gonna leave a link to this website in the description, and I'm reading this off of. Now, you're more than welcome. Don't just take this website as gold. Do the research behind it. Look up the things and the facts concerning history and all that. Not just people who are biased in what they believe and what they hold to. Really look into it. Because there's a lot of detailed things here that can be refuted if it's false. So please feel free to go and look it up. If you do go look it up, you find something that's contradicting, leave a comment, come back, and let's talk about it. All right, so this website is whychristmas.com, and it's talking, and it's / customs / when Christmas is celebrated. So this is just starting off, just reading off some things, okay? Just this some surfacey stuff right here. And it says many people think Christmas is on December the 25th, and that's all there is to Christmas. However, for many people around the world in different countries and in different Christian traditions, Christmas lasts for a lot longer than that, and it's even celebrated at different times. When Christmas is celebrated, although December 25th is the date when most people celebrate Christmas, there are some other dates as well. Some churches, mainly Orthodox churches, use different calendar for their religious celebrations. Orthodox churches in Russia, Serbia, Jerusalem, Ukraine, and Ethiopia, and other countries use the old Julian calendar, and people in those churches celebrate Christmas on January 7th. And that to me just shows that it's not necessarily a mandated thing, whereas people say, "Oh, Christmas is celebrated on December 25th," therefore we just assume that Jesus was born December 25th. Like that's just absurd. You know what I'm saying? There's not no serious Christian believes that Jesus was born on December 25th or January 7th in this case. But this is the day no one really knows when he was born. You know what I'm saying? But this is the day we choose to celebrate his birth. All right. And so that's the important thing on that matter. You know what I'm saying? And so I just want to read that to show that there's other places that celebrate Christmas on different days. You know, not just December 25th. That's just how we do here and in other places. All right. What's the next thing I wanted to look at here? Bear with me. But yeah, the main website is whychristmas.com. And it answers a lot of these objections and stuff like that, even dealing with the winter solstice. That's why I thought it'd be a good thing to bring this out since Christmas is coming around the corner. It's right there. You know what I'm saying? And we want to take this time to think about and reflect on what it really means, Christmas really means, and why we really celebrate it. And Now there was a good article I read on here. They hit a lot of this stuff concerning the winter solstice and everything. But I just go from one. I just go to one, and maybe we'll get there. How about that? So this here talking about Christmas trees. See, the reason why I want to bring this because there are some people who proclaim to be Christian who think that we shouldn't even use a Christmas tree. I mean, they'll say that if you have a Christmas tree in your home, then you're in turn worshiping the tree and taking part in paganism, which is false. You know, saying though what we would call a Christmas tree has some pagan roots, doesn't mean that us having a tree in our home decorated means we're worshiping the tree as some others would have. You know, and we got to define worship and what that looks like. You know what I'm saying? Decorating the tree is not worshiping the tree. If that's the case, then you worship your home because you decorate the home. You know what I'm saying? Like that's absurd, and it shouldn't even be given any time. But unfortunately, that's what we deal with, and that's what we have. And so, in this article, the history of Christmas trees, it says the evergreen fir tree has traditionally been used to celebrate winter festivals, pagan and Christian, for thousands of years. Pagans used branches of it to decorate their homes during the winter solstice, as it made them think of the spring to come. The Romans used fir trees to decorate their temples at the festival of Saturnalia. Christians use it as a sign of everlasting life with God. All right, I'll continue. It says nobody is really sure when fir trees were first used as Christmas trees. It probably began about 1,000 years ago in Northern Europe. Many early Christmas trees seem to have been hung upside down from the ceilings, using chains hung from chandeliers or lighting hooks. Other early Christmas trees across many parts of northern Europe were cherry or hawthorn plants or a branch of the plant that were put into pots and brought inside so they would hopefully flower at Christmas time. If you couldn't afford a real plant, people made pyramids of wood and they were decorated to look like a tree with paper, apples, and candles. Sometimes they were carried around from house to house rather than being displayed in a home. It's possible that the wooden pyramid trees were meant to be like paradise trees. There were these were used in medieval German mystery or miracle plays that were acted out in front of churches on Christmas Eve. In early church calendars of saints, 24th of December was Adam and Eve's day. The paradise tree represented the Garden of Eden. It was often paraded around the town before the play started as a way of advertising the play. The plays told the plays told Bible stories to people who could not read. So here we see the Christmas tree being used in a way before even putting it in homes. It was just carried around and they did different things with it. Still decorated everything, but here you don't see where they worshiped the tree. It just represented something. It was a symbol for something, something eternal. In this case, dealing with the paradise, Adam and Eve. Even though they fell, but before they fell, that you had the ideal way God wanted things to be in creation. It represented something. So then it says the first documented. Now, please, somebody look this up and come and get back with me if you have anything that's contrary to this. But it says the first documented use of a tree at Christmas and New Year celebrations. It's argued between the cities of Tallinn, if I pronounce that right, that's Tallinn in Estonia, and Riga in Latvia. Both claim that they had the first trees. Uh, Tallinn in 1441 and Riga in 1510. Both trees were put up by the Brotherhood of Blackheads, which was an association of local unmarried merchants, ship owners, and foreigners in Livonia, which is now Estonia and Latvia. Little is known about either tree apart from that they were put in the town square, were danced around by the Brotherhood of Blackheads, and were then set on fire. This is like the custom of the Yule log, which is done as a pagan tradition with the Yule log. The word used for the tree could also mean a mast or pole. Tree might have been like a paradise tree or a tree-shaped wooden uh, candelabra, rather than a real tree. In the town square of Riga, the capital of Latvia, there is a plaque which is engraved a plaque. I'm sorry, not plague, a plaque which is engraved with the first New Year's tree in Riga in 1510 in 8 languages. You can find out more about the Riga tree from this website, and the website is www.firstchristmastree.com. Now, I didn't check that website out. You're more welcome to. Yeah. So, so you say a picture from Germany in 1521, which shows a tree being paraded through the streets with a man riding a horse behind it. The man is dressed a bishop, possibly representing Saint Nicholas. So representing him, not being him, but representing him. So just showing different ways the tree was used prior to, being put in a home. So you see, it's nothing here where the people are worshiping this tree. I mean, we saw people dancing around it in A, B, and C, But I'm talking about like Christians who like are worshiping the tree when they have it in their home. Um, Further down, it says in Germany, the first Christmas trees were decorated with edible things such as gingerbread and gold-covered apples. Then glassmakers made special small ornaments similar to some of the decorations used today. In 1605, an unknown German wrote, "At Christmas, they set up fir trees in the parlors of Strasbourg and hang them on roses cut out of many colored papers, apples, wafers, gold foil, sweets, etc." Oh, now this is interesting. Check this out. At first, a figure of the baby Jesus was put on the top of the tree. Over time, it changed to an angel, a fairy, that told the shepherds about Jesus, or a star like the wise men saw. The first Christmas trees came to Britain sometime in the 1830s. They became very popular in 1841 when Prince Albert, Queen Victoria's German husband, had a Christmas tree set up in the Windsor Castle. In 1848, drawings of the Queen's Christmas tree at Windsor Castle was published in the Illustrated London News. The drawing was republished in the Goddess Ladies Book, Philadelphia, in December 1850. But they removed the Queen's crown and Prince Albert's mustache to make it look American. Yeah, that sounds about right. That sounds like something somebody would do. All right. So that's dealing with the Christmas tree. All right. See, let me check live. I ain't been on here a minute. Okay, cool. I was trying to find one thing talk about the timing and all of that good stuff. Mm-mm-mm. And like Christmas carols, one thing I saw interesting on the site dealing with Christmas carols was that of course, there were pagans who sung carols during this time during the winter solstice. But basically, what Christians did was they took songs and they put Christian words to them, trying to evangelize and talking about Jesus, and worship to Jesus, which is it's just good. Like there's nothing bad for that. There's nothing wrong with that. That's good. And they're not singing about some false gods and false deities. They're singing about Christ. And so that's with Christmas carols. So like some people argue that you shouldn't be singing Christmas carols. I don't understand the logic behind any of this, but that is. Do, 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 do. How about this? All right, here we go. So the same website. The topic of this is why is Christmas Day on the 25th of December? All right, this is what I was looking for. All right, if you stuck around long enough to hear this, then I sure appreciate it because here we go. This is where the meat is. Checking again, nobody's on the live chat. Cool. All right, it says Christmas is celebrated to remember the birth of Jesus Christ, who Christians believe is the Son of God. The name Christmas comes from the Mass of Christ. That's basically what it means, Mass of Christ or Jesus. A Mass service, which is sometimes called communion or Eucharist, is where Christians remember that Jesus died for us and then came back to life. The Christ Mass service was the only one that was allowed to take place after sunset and before sunrise the next day. So people had it midnight. So people had it at midnight. So we get the name Christmas short or Christ Mass shortened to Christmas, and that's actually historically true. The name Christmas wasn't always Christmas; it was Christ Mass. You know, so yeah, so it was shortened to Christmas. Christmas is now celebrated by people around the world, whether they are Christians or not. It's a time when family and friends come together and remember the good things they have. People, and especially children, also like Christmas, as it is a time when you give and receive presents. All right. The dates of Christmas. No one knows the real birthday of Jesus. No date is given in the Bible, so why do we celebrate it on the 25th of December? The early Christians certainly had many arguments as to when it should be celebrated. Also, the birth of Jesus probably didn't happen in the year 1, but slightly earlier, somewhere between 2 BCE and 7 BCE, possibly in 4 BCE. There isn't a zero. The years go from 1 BCE to 180. The first recorded date of Christmas being celebrated on December 25th was in 336. Think about that for a second. Year 336 was when you had the first Christmas Day being celebrated on December 25th. Think about how long ago that was. Before they started using Christmas trees and everything else. Just so you think about how everything came into play as time went on. It just things were incorporated as time went on. You know, amazing how that happens. But yeah, anyway, the first recorded day of Christmas being celebrated on December 25th was in 336 during the time of the Roman Emperor Constantine. He was the first Christian Roman emperor. Now, I too much disagree with that. I mean, I don't really see what Constantine really may have been truly a Christian. He may have professed Christianity, but I don't see where he was truly a Christian. From giving the historical data, he definitely was used to cause peace during that time for Christians to have some reprieve and not being for persecution stopped as far as they were killing Christians. There was a lot of martyrs back then, and because of him or through him, uh, it was stopped. Christianity became legal in Rome, and so yeah. So that's what's tangent on that. A few years later, Pope Julius I officially declared that the birth of Jesus would be celebrated on the 25th of December. So nobody declared that Jesus was born on December 25th. We declared, or that was declared, that this is the day we will celebrate his birth. Okay, we want to make that clear, make that distinction very clear. However, there are many different traditions and theories as to why Christmas is celebrated on December 25th. So people have been trying to rectify this reason. Why the 25th? Now, why not in the spring? You know, why this time? And so a lot of people have been trying to rectify that answer and come up with different theories as to why. Notice the word theories. Traditions and theories. There's no really set stone thing that's fact as far as why it's celebrated on the 25th. But these are theories as to what it could be. Just take that for what it is. Just take it as a grain of salt. Do with that information as you will. All right. So it says a very early Christian tradition said that the day when Mary was told that she would have a very special baby, Jesus, was on March 25th, and is still celebrated today on the 25th of March. 9 months after the 25th of March is the 25th of December. March 25th was also the day some early Christians thought the world had been made, and also the day that Jesus died. And also the day that Jesus died on when he was an adult. The date of March 25th was chosen because people had calculated that was the day on which Jesus died as an adult, the 14th of Nisan in the Jewish calendar. And they thought that Jesus was born and had died on the same day of that year. Some people also think that December 25th might have also been chosen because the winter solstice and ancient pagan Roman midwinter festivals called Saturnalia I may butcher this name, but I'm gonna try. Dies Natalis Solis Invicti. I may have butchered that, but yeah, that's what I'm putting. You go to the website, you find out what it is, and you can pronounce it right and find out how it's really pronounced. Anyway, that these things took place in December around this date. So it was a time when people already celebrated things. So that was some of the logic of this. Hey, we got all these things being celebrated around December. Let's plug Christmas in too. Let's plug this in over here. Remember, Christmas is already celebrated. It's not something that was not celebrated. It was already celebrated. Now let's plug it in over here with everything else. So it's like everything else already going on. Might as well put Christmas there too. So that was the logic of some people's thinking. And it possibly could be true. Let's see. Now it talks about the winter solstice a little bit. The winter solstice is a day where there is the shortest time between the sun rising and the sun setting. It happens on December 21st or 22nd. To pagans, this meant that the winter was over and spring was coming, and they had a festival to celebrate it and worship the sun for winning over the darkness of winter. So keep in mind, see, worship of the sun. We pagans worshiping other things other than God. Okay. Anyway, I lost my place. Okay. So in Scandinavia and some other parts of Northern Europe, the winter solstice is known as Yule, and is where we get Yule logs from. In Eastern Europe, the midwinter festival is called Kolida. Kolida. Now, remember the Christmas song? I can't remember the name of it, but anyway, it talks about Yuletide carols being sung by a choir, and this is kind of carols we're talking about. There were Christmas carols being sung during this time, but they were for pagan traditions, pagan religions. So Yule, that was a holiday for them, So that's what they would do. The Yule logs, they would burn them, and they would feast until till the fire went out. You know what I'm saying, from the log. Anyway, the Roman festival of Saturnalia took place between December 17th and 23rd and honored the Roman sun god, Saturn. Dies Natalis Solis Invicti means birthday of the unconquered sun, and was held on December 25th, when the Romans thought the winter solstice took place. All right, so this is a holiday that was celebrated on December 25th already. So there's already a holiday celebrated on the 25th, and this what it was: the birthday of the unconquered sun, S-U-N, not S-O-N. All right, because they worship the Roman god Saturn. All right, so that's important to think about. It's important to know. All right, and so like to me, I think I'm gonna plug in what I think this all was about was that they put the Christians want to celebrate Christmas on the 25th of December because you have a pagan religion worshiping an unconquered sun, S-U-N, worshiping a creation, and so therefore, hey, let's celebrate Christmas on that same day so therefore we can show or we can testify and proclaim the true unconquered Son, S-O-N, Jesus Christ. And let's proclaim him, let's worship him and testify about him through this time. And that is my opinion about why they moved it to the 25th. I could be wrong, but that is my opinion. I hope that could be the opinion. I mean, I hope that could be the truth, but that's my thoughts on it. And so it says the Roman Emperor Aurelian created Soli Victus in 274. But there are records of early Christians connecting the 14th of Nisan to 25th of March. And so the 25th of December go back around to 200. You know what I'm saying? So therefore, if this is the case, if back then when they thought uh, um, when Mary got the announcement that Jesus was in her womb, or that she was impregnated by the Holy Spirit, then if that's the case, where it was actually the 25th of December would actually have been before the start of Saturnalia. So this was one of the things where they could refute that idea that Saturnalia was first, and therefore we're still in from pagan traditions. Actually, it could be argued the other way around. In this case, I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily take that route, but this is what they're arguing here. If this is the case, that he was conceived in March 25th and then therefore born on December 25th, well then that dates to around 200 AD, whereas Saturnalia Soli Victus wasn't created until 274. You know, you're talking about over 60 years later. You know what I'm saying? So that's just another argument there. So the Jewish festival of lights, Hanukkah, starts on the 25th of Kislev, the month in the Jewish calendar that occurs at about the same time as December. Hanukkah celebrates when the Jewish people were able to rededicate their worship in their temple in Jerusalem, again following many years of not being allowed to practice their religion. Jesus was a Jew, so this could be another reason that helped the early church choose December the 25th for the date of Christmas. So Hanukkah was already being celebrated during this time. Usually the Jewish calendar, Kislev is a month that was near around December, and so that's when they celebrated 25th of Kislev, and so it was already being celebrated. So hey, what they're celebrating this for being able to go back and worship in the temple where Jesus has come to fulfill all the law and the prophets. You know, so therefore, why not celebrate his birth on this day, the 25th of December? You know, it sounds reasonable, sounds rational. You know, I can believe that. That could be a very high possibility. A few more. Christmas had also been celebrated by the early church on January 6th, when they also celebrated the Epiphany, which means the revelation that Jesus was God's son, and the baptism of Jesus. Now, Epiphany mainly celebrates the visit of the wise men to the baby Jesus, but back then it celebrated both things. Jesus' baptism was originally seen as more important than his birth, as this was when he started his ministry. But soon people wanted a separate day to celebrate his birth. So it wasn't always that we celebrated the birth of Jesus. It seemed that as this says, it seems that his baptism was more important. But people wanted a separate day to celebrate his birth. Most of the world uses the Gregorian calendar, implemented by Pope Gregory the 13th in 1582. But before that time, dang, I'm just getting twisted. Before that, the Roman or Julian calendar was used, named after Julius Caesar. The Gregorian calendar is more accurate than the Roman calendar, which had too many days in a year. When the switch was made, 10 days were lost, so that the day that followed the 4th of October, 1582, was the 15th of October, 1582. In the UK, the change of calendars was made in 1752. The day after, the day after 2nd September 1752 was 14th September 1752. So you see that. So what would normally have been in the 3rd of September would now be the 15th of September. When it soon as they woke up the next day, that's what it would have been. So that was a big change in days for them during that time they made the change. If that's not confusing for you. And I always wondered that. I wondered how when they switched calendars or when they switched from one type to the other, what effect did it have on people in their everyday life? You know, it just made their month really, really short. Whatever month they changed in, it made their month really short. Man, imagine that. I just getting paid on the first, and then the next day I get paid again because now it's the 15th, or you know what I'm saying, or a couple days later. I think I would kind of like that. You know, get that kind of change would be kind of cool. Anyway, many Orthodox and Coptic churches still use the Julian calendar, and so celebrate Christmas on the 7th of January, which is when December 25th would have been on the Julian calendar. And the Armenian Apostolic Church celebrates it on the 6th of January. In some parts of the UK, January 6th is still called Old Christmas, and this would have been the day that Christmas would have been celebrated on if the calendar hadn't been changed. Some people didn't want to use the new calendar as they thought it cheated them out of 11 days. They want to keep them 11 days. You have to take my 11 days. I heard that. Christians believe that Jesus is the light of the world, so the early Christians thought that this was the right time to celebrate the birth of Jesus. They also took over some of the customs from the winter solstice and gave them Christian meanings, like holly, mistletoe, and even Christmas carols. So there you go. I'm going to read that again. Christians believe that Jesus is the light of the world. Testimony. They wanted to testify. They wanted to proclaim Jesus during this time. So they also took some of the customs from the winter solstice and gave them Christian meanings. You know what I'm saying? So St. Augustine was the person who really started Christmas in the UK by introducing Christianity in the 6th century. Amazing. This going kind of backtracking. Amazing how this kind of refutes that idea that Christianity is a quote unquote white man's religion and started during the slave trade where we were brainwashed from knowing our history and stuff and learning about this Jesus. Yeah, missed me with that one. Anyway, so he came from the countries that used the Roman calendar. So Western countries celebrated Christmas on the 25th of December. Then people from Britain and Western Europe took Christmas on the 25th all over the world. So it spread from there. Now let's talk about when Jesus was born. There's a strong and practical reason why Jesus might not have been born in the winter, but in the spring or the autumn. It can get very cold in the winter, and it's unlikely that the shepherds would have been keeping sheep out on the hills, as those hills can get quite a lot of snow sometimes. During the spring, in March or April, there's a Jewish festival called Passover. This festival remembers when the Jews had escaped from slavery in Egypt about 1,500 years before Jesus was born. Lots of lambs would have been needed during the Passover festival to be sacrificed in the temple in Jerusalem. Jews from all over the Roman Empire traveled to Jerusalem for the Passover festival, so it would have been a good time for the Romans to take a census. Mary and Joseph went to Bethlehem for the census. Bethlehem is about 6 miles from Jerusalem. In the autumn, in September, October, there's a Jewish festival of Sukkot, pronounce that right, or the Feast of Tabernacles. It's the festival that's mentioned the most times in the Bible. It is when Jewish people remember that they depended on God for all they had after they had escaped from Egypt and spent 40 years in the desert. It also celebrates the end of the harvest. During the festival, Jews lived outside in temporary shelters. The word tabernacle comes from a Latin word meaning booth or hut. Many people who have studied the Bible think that the Feast of Tabernacles would be a likely time for the birth of Jesus, as it might fit with the description of there being no room in the inn. It also would have been a good time to take the Roman census, as many Jews went to Jerusalem for the festival, and they would have brought their own tents, shelters with them. It would have been practical for it wouldn't have been practical for Joseph and Mary to carry their own shelter, as Mary was pregnant. The possibilities for the Star of Bethlehem seem to point either spring or autumn. The possible dating of Jesus' birth can also be taken from when Zechariah, who was married to Mary's cousin Elizabeth, was on duty in the Jewish temple as a priest and had an amazing experience. There is an excellent article on the dating of Christmas based on the dates of Zechariah's experience on the blog of theologian Ian Paul. So there's a link on this website. You can go to that for that. With those dates, you get Jesus being born in September, which also fits the Feast of Tabernacles. Except, but nobody really knows. It's still theories. All right. The year that Jesus was born isn't known. The calendar system we have now was created in the 6th century by a monk called Dionysius Exiguus. And I probably butchered his name as well. And I'm sorry about that for anybody who know how to pronounce these names. Please help me. He was actually trying to create a better system for working out when Easter should be celebrated, based on a new calendar with the birth of Jesus being in the year 1. However, he made a mistake in his math and so got the possible year of Jesus' birth wrong. Most scholars now think that Jesus was born between 2 BC and 7 BC, and possibly 4 BC. Before Dionysius' new calendar, years were normally dated from the reigns of Roman emperors. The new calendar became more widely used from the 8th century when the vulnerable bead of these words are killing me. Speaking English too long. The vulnerable. I'm not going to even try to pronounce this. I'm not even trying to pronounce it. I'm gonna mess this up. Anyway, 8th century, when whatever this is, used it in his new history book. There is no year 0. Bede started stating things before the year 1 and used 1 BC as the first year before 1. And at that time, in Europe, the number 0 didn't exist in math. It only arrived in Europe in the 11th to 13th centuries. Something to put in your pipe there. Think about the number 0 didn't even exist back then. Amazing to think about. All right, this is the last stretch here. So whenever you celebrate Christmas, remember that you're celebrating a real event that happened about 2,000 years ago, that God sent his son into the world as a Christmas present for everyone. As well as Christmas and the solstice, there are some other festivals that are held in late December. Hanukkah is celebrated by Jews, and the festival of Kwanzaa is celebrated by some Africans and African Americans. Take place from December 26th to January 1st. And that is the end of that article. Like I said, I'll leave a link to this article in the description. I'm going to copy it now and paste it. You can free to go and check that out. And if you find out anything in your research that was seen to contradict that, please let me know. Leave a comment. I would sure appreciate it. Christmas. All right. There. Put it in there. All right. So, with that being said, I've been on here long enough. Hold on, wait a minute. All right. With that being said, I've been on here long enough, and thank you so much for taking the time to watch this. If you've been on here live, man, you're a trooper. I was talking for a long time, stumbling over words and everything else. But I'm gonna fix this up and chop it up or whatever and put it on, upload it later. But yeah, I hope you have a wonderful Christmas. And even if you disagree with celebrating it, To each his own. I don't condemn you. Just don't condemn me for celebrating my Lord's birth. Don't do that. Anyway, remember, in a world full of errors, the only thing the doctor prescribes is truth. Lessons.